In a surprise announcement, EA not only revealed a sequel to Unravel at E3 this week, but also announced that it was available immediately at the end of the show. The original Unravel was a heartwarming puzzle platformer that took me on an emotional adventure. In this new sequel, the adventure brings along a friend in a co-op centered story. In an odd move, Unravel 2 ignores a lot of the narrative found in the first Unravel. It's a bit of a polarizing choice, as the origin story of Yarny coming from the memories of an old grandmother was lovely and uplifting. In the sequel, we find Yarny with a friend traversing the wild terrains of the Swedish forest. Once again, Yarny finds himself exploring the memories, though this time of a young pair of friends who really only have each other to lean on. It's a story that runs parallel to the new co-op gameplay formula for Unravel 2. Just like the original game, the story is told through these apparitions of two friends and their time together in comparison to Yarny and his friend. Ultimately, I found this new story to be wholesome, though not on par with the story from the first game. There wasn't a lot of setup with this new narrative, and thus I didn't really feel that attached to Yarny as much as I originally did. This new game ended up feeling like a 4-hour DLC side chapter rather than a continuation of the story, or even just being remotely related to the first game. Unravel 2's campaign consisted of 7 chapters that each took about 30 to 45 minutes. In total, the game took me about 4 hours to complete the main campaign. Instead of taking place around a grandmother's old home, this new game has you centered in a lighthouse taking magical portals to different parts of Sweden. Each of these levels are now completely focused on co-op gameplay. While the first game had you controlling Yarny, the sequel has you controlling Yarny and a new buddy Yarny. At all times, this pair of characters are present on screen, but you can play this game either alone or with a friend. If you're playing alone, then you can switch between the two characters with the press of a button, or give a controller to a friend to play co-op. Sadly, there's no option to play online, so you're pretty much forced to choose between these two. The co-op or pairing of the two Yarnies is the foundation for this new sequel. It's continuously present in the story, and it's how the puzzles are basically designed this time. It's certainly an interesting new element to the puzzle mechanics first established in the original Unravel. In that game, puzzles were much more environment based, and though the elements of that game are still in this one, they now all revolve around having a pair of characters. Where previously you need a special yarn knot to swing from platform to platform, you can now use the weight of one Yarny to hold down the other. It's a system that's constantly used in this game, making you think in two rather than just one. You can even make the Yarnies more of a personal creation with the ability to change their appearance. You can unlock extra cosmetic options for them by collecting the collectibles in each of the chapters. These are the stationary sparkles you see throughout the game. You won't always have the Yarnies in a pair though, or at least you don't need to. At any point in the game, you can have one Yarny carry the other for much faster movement. The pairing system took a bit to get used to at first, but after the first level, I pretty much got the hang of things and found the puzzles to be pretty tolerable, never really stopping me for too long. On the contrary, the puzzle elements started to feel a bit repetitive and thus easy. I think that's in part to the level design having very similar environments for most of the game, or at least more frequently than the original. Outside of the campaign are a series of bonus challenge levels that are accessed via the hub world. These are smaller bite-sized levels that have you quickly maneuvering platforms with swings. They're quite challenging and are a big change of pace from the more laid-back, larger form levels of the campaign. The gameplay, though it did initially feel new with the co-op system, quickly lost that new feeling effect after the first few chapters of the campaign. The puzzles didn't feel too challenging, and the overall campaign was shorter than the first game. The addition of those challenge levels, though, are a welcome addition. They offered an incentive for post-game content outside of just the collectibles in the chapters, and certainly provided the most challenge in this game. Much like the first Unravel, Unravel 2 will take you across different wildlife and city locations in Sweden. It offered a beautiful scenic view of the countryside. Unravel 2's photorealistic visuals look fantastic, especially with the bokeh effect keeping Yarny and the foreground in focus. There is a brilliant use of volumetric god rays that shine through the empty pieces of timber in the forest. It's a lovely looking art direction, though I wish it would have taken me to more varied environments. I feel like the first Unravel had a larger variety of locations and weather that made it feel more unique. In Unravel 2, a lot of the stages feel the same, like they all take place in the same location or the same terrain. As for visual performance, Unravel 2 runs at 1080p 60 on both the PS4 and the standard Xbox One. That gets further bumped up to 4K 60 if you're either playing it on a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X. I played primarily on the Xbox One X and the game shined, really showing off those realistic forest visuals. Now there were a few shadow glitch hiccups I experienced on the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro though. Shadows would occasionally pop in and out, though they didn't really ruin the experience or the immersion of the environment. Unravel 2 continues the trend of the original with its own new list of soft, warm, and gentle music. While the new list of music is alright, I don't think it's as great as the first game. I think that primarily had to do with how the music is used in the game. In both games the music was used to accompany and really elevate the emotional moments of the game. Unravel 2 just doesn't have that much of an emotional impact and thus the music doesn't have anything to accompany it. It's still good music, but it just doesn't evoke the same emotions that the first one did. Unravel 2, though enjoyable, is a setback as a sequel to the original Unravel. It's a shorter game with more common environments that, though they look nice, feel very similar to each other. That affects the design of levels, making the already shorter game feel repetitive. With that said, the challenge levels are a nice addition to the main campaign, offering more bite-sized but challenging bonus content. Ultimately though, Unravel 2 feels more like Unravel 1.5, a bonus DLC pack to the original, rather than a true sequel. It's a decent puzzle platformer, but one you don't need to run out and get at launch, unless you've been eagerly awaiting some Unravel DLC since the first game came out. If I had to give it a score, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Now that's actually something I want to hear from you guys, whether you guys would want to see scores come back to my reviews. I used to do scores when I first started doing game reviews, but I feel like people would just skip the content of a review, the in-depth analysis of a game, and just go to the score and compare the score of one game to another game in a completely different genre. If you'd like to see me bring back scores to my reviews on top of the in-depth content I already do let me know in the comment section down below. But that does it for my review of Unravel 2 that's currently available for $20 on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. If you have any questions about the game or you played it yourself, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed my review, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new around here to be notified when I make more reviews just like this one. Thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.